Hey there, busy moms. Welcome to Busy Moms Yoga. I'm Megan. I've got a full body, full flow for you. If you've got a little extra time to spare in your day today, then I hope that you're going to enjoy this flow. You can take this any time of day, morning, evening, whenever you've got the time. So let's start out with a mat. Grab a set of blocks. Not totally necessary, but in a longer flow, it's encouraged to have the blocks just in case you need a little modification or a prop to help bring the ground a little bit closer, whatever it is, always helps to just have them handy. So we're actually going to get started today in a child's pose. So take a moment. And if you want to have some gentle, soft music playing in the back, that can always kind of set the mood a little bit. I don't play music during my recordings just because I feel like it's distracting. But by all means, if you want to set something up for yourself. And when you're ready, coming into this nice restful child's pose, sending the hips back. And you might feel a little sticky. We are not warmed up at all yet. This is just a simple grounding, settling in posture. Maybe roll your forehead side to side as you set an intention for today's practice. And start to come to your breath, filling up the lungs with each inhale and emptying out on the exhale. Couple more breaths just to settle in here. Being present for these next few moments that we've carved out of our day for ourselves. It's so important. And feel free to stay here for another breath or two. But if you're ready to get moving, let's come on up to a tabletop position. We'll take a few rounds of cat-cow. If you've taken some of my video recordings before, you know it's a great way to start our classes out, cat-cow. So find a nice flat back, fingers nice and spread out on your mat, shoulders over wrists, hips over the knees. And when you're ready, we'll drop the belly, lift the gaze, arch your back, and exhale, round the spine, pushing your hands into the mat, chin to chest. Inhale, lift, and exhale, rounding the spine. And let's just take 2 or 3 more rounds. Take them at your own pace with your breath. There's no rush here. Just warming up the body, making that mind and muscle connection. And after that last round, just return to that neutral spine, rechecking on your alignment. We'll go through a few rounds of a bird dog. So start by just sending your left toes back. And before we do any lifting, maybe just rock back and forth, bring some movement into that calf muscle. Start to bring some heat to the lower body. From here, maybe come back to stillness and just lift that back leg up, not super high, just parallel with the floor in line with your hips. An option to stay right here, or maybe elevate the right arm as well, sending your right fingers forward, left toes back. Inhale here, and on your exhale, squeeze knee to nose. Inhale, extend. Exhale, squeeze. Inhale, extend. Exhale, squeeze. One more time, send it out. And return back to that tabletop. Take a round of cat-cow here, resetting the spine. Come back to that neutral spine. Send the right toes back this time. Start with those rocks forward and back. Give the same love to the right side as we did to the left. And after a few rocks back and forth, find that stillness. Lift the back toes up. Extend the left arm. Find that balance. Core engagement can really help with the stability here. Inhale. Exhale, squeeze knee to nose. Inhale, extend. Exhale, squeeze. Inhale, extend. Exhale, squeeze. One more time, send it out. Hand and knee return to the mat. Tuck your toes, send the hips up and back for our first downward dog. And let's stay here for a few breaths. Take any movement that you may need. Start out by pedaling the legs first. And remember, nice deep breaths. Feel your fingertips nice and spread out on the mat. Really pushing your hands into the mat. Sending your heels back down towards the mat. Maybe come up onto your tiptoes a couple times. Feeling some creaks and cracks in my ankles. And just really opening up the body, opening up the breath, and getting ready for our workout. One more breath here in our downward dog. And on the exhale, start to walk your toes up towards the top of your mat. Hang heavy here in your forward fold for a moment. Maybe grab opposite elbows, give yourself a little sway from side to side in our ragdoll. Then gentle bend in the knees, totally fine. Still warming up here. Just make sure that you release any tension in the head and the neck. Just let them hang heavy here for a moment. And when you're ready, grounding down with your feet, we rise all the way up. Extended mountain pose. Exhale through heart center. Let's take a couple standing stretches before we move into our sun salutation. So inhale your arms up overhead. Exhale, drop the right hand to the right hip. Reach overhead with your left. Little side body stretch here. Inhale, both arms back up. Other side, left hand to left hip. Reaching overhead, just opening up that side body. Just creating space in between the ribs. Inhale up to center. Take a gentle baby back bend here. Cactus the arms, lift your gaze, send the hips forward. Inhale the arms back up. And let's hinge at the hips. Exhale, forward fold. Just hang heavy here again for a moment. Maybe while you're hanging here, just roll the wrists out a little bit. Bring the hands back down to your mat. Ground down with your feet. Rise all the way up. Extended mountain pose. And exhale to heart center. All right, we'll take a few rounds of our half sun salutations and then we'll add on to full. So opening up in a mountain pose. Inhale. Extended mountain. Exhale, swan dive the arms down, forward fold. Inhale, lift halfway, flat back. Exhale, fold. Grounding down with your feet. We rise all the way up. And exhale to heart center. Let's take that again. Opening up in mountain pose. Inhale. Exhale, fold. Inhale, lift halfway. Exhale, fold. Ground down, rise up. And exhale. All right, we'll add on this time. Show me that mountain pose. Inhale. Exhale, fold. Inhale, left halfway. Exhale, fold. Hands come down to the mat. Step back to your plank. And maybe for the first round, let's drop the knees down, modified plank. Lower all the way down to your belly. Keep the elbows in nice and tight. Untuck the toes. Inhale, lift to your back bend. Let's start with just a baby cobra. Exhale, release, tuck the toes, and send yourself up and back, downward dog. Full breath here. And let it go. Walk, step, or jump your feet up to meet your hands at the top of your mat. Inhale halfway. Exhale, fold. Inhale, rise up. Exhale, hands to heart center. We'll take another round. Inhale, lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, halfway. Exhale, fold. Hands come down, stepping back to that plank. This time, your choice. If you want to take the same back bend as earlier, go for it. Otherwise, lower down with me. Let's take a chaturanga. So not coming all the way down, holding it in that low plank. Inhale up to our upward dog. And exhale, hips up and back, downward dog. Inhale, looking up at the top of your mat. Walk, step, or hop to the top. Inhale, halfway. Exhale, fold. Inhale, rise all the way up. And exhale. All right, moving on to our first standing flow. Let's start in a downward dog. So coming back down to where we were, sending the hips back. Just stay here for a moment. Okay, start to feel the heat rising. Maybe your heart rate is elevated just a little bit. And we'll come in here, starting with a three-legged dog. So send the right leg up and back. Actually, let's pause here for a moment. Open up that hip. Bend your knee as if you were trying to stack both hips on top of one another. Maybe create some circles with your foot. Just creating space in that hip. Square the hips back down towards the floor. Take a nice deep breath in, and on the exhale, knee comes to nose. Send it back up 2 more times like that. Exhale, knee to nose. 1 more time, knee to nose. And this time, step that foot through your hands so you're in a nice low lunge here. Get your footing, shift that weight into your feet. Rise up, high lunge. Feel your legs underneath you, nice and strong, strong base, strong foundation. Big inhale here in your high lunge. Exhale, open up warrior 2. Okay, quick alignment check, shoulders over hips, right knee over right ankle. One arm towards the front of the room, one arm towards the back, and I'm glancing over my right fingertips. Flip that right palm, inhale, peaceful warrior. Feel that side body stretch all along the right side. On the exhale, come all the way down to side angle, bringing the right elbow to the right knee. Kind of using your arm to open up the hip a little bit more. Left arm reaches overhead, long line of energy from your left toes to your left fingertips. From here, come up to a quick warrior 2, straighten out the front leg, reach for the front of the room, and tick-tock those arms down for triangle pose. This is a great posture for a block. So if you're feeling a little unsteady or you just want the extra support, placing a block in front of your right leg, even behind your right leg. Try not to dump too much weight into that right hand, but just a little added support. Lift your gaze up towards the ceiling if that feels okay on your neck. Can also look straight ahead or maybe even down. From here, with that block, we're going to kind of hop that left foot in a little bit. Bring your left hand to your hip and send that block out a little bit further. We're going to take a little balancing posture here for half moon. So start to lift the left foot up and back, opening up the hip. So my toes are pointing towards the side of the room. Holding onto that block for stability if you need it. Maybe sending the left arm up towards the top. Engage the core, squeeze the glutes. Maybe find a spot on the floor to focus your gaze. And if you lose your balance, that's okay. We're human. Just get up and try again. Nice and slow, drop with control. Bring the left toes down. Right hands come down to the mat. Bring the right foot back for a plank, and we'll take your vinyasa. I'm going to go with the chaturanga from earlier, so lowering all the way down. Inhale is your upward dog. Exhale, downward dog. Stay here for a moment or two. I'm just going to switch sides. All right, taking it to the other side. Left leg comes up and back this time. And again, maybe open up that hip, stacking as if you were stacking your hips on top of one another. Create some circles with your leg, some space in that hip. And then square the hips back down. Take a deep breath in. Exhale, knee to nose. Send that leg back up. Exhale, knee to nose. One more time. Exhale, knee to nose. This time, left foot steps through. Make sure you get your balance. Shift the weight into your feet. Up to a high lunge. Stay here for a moment. Feel those strong legs underneath you. Strong base and foundation. Big inhale. And exhale, opening up, warrior 2. Again, quick alignment check. Shoulders over hips. Arms out to front and back. Take the left hand this time. Flip the palm. Reach up, peaceful warrior. Nice side body stretch on the other side. Take a big inhale here. Exhale, side angle. And again, trying to open up that knee a little bit. Opening up the hip a little more. Maybe lift your gaze. Slowly coming back up to that warrior two, straightening out the left leg, reach for the front of the room, triangle pose. An option again for the block. Not too much weight in that left hand, just a little added support. Woo. Almost lost my balance. That's what happens when I take my gaze away. All right, starting to hop the right foot in. We'll take it to half moon on this side. So left toe is pointing towards the front of the room. Right hand to hip, right leg comes up first. Pointing those toes towards the right side. Maybe lifting the arms up. Find your balance. And try not to have too much weight in that left hand. Similar to our triangle. Nice and slowly we come down with control. Cartwheel the hands down, step back to that plank, and your vinyasa once again. And join me in that downward dog. And stay here for a few breaths. Walk your feet up to meet your hands in that forward fold. Inhale, let's take a half lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, rise up. And exhale to center. All right. I thought I'd weave in a little bit of core work here. So before we move on, if you need to grab a quick drink of water, go for it. Otherwise, we'll get started with our core. So moving my blocks, we're going to start in a forearm plank. Option to always have your knees down. So if you're here in core work and you're like, get me out, no need, okay? There's always modifications that are still just as beneficial, okay? So regular forearm plank, my elbows are underneath my shoulders. Option to drop the knees down. You'll still feel that core engagement, still doing the work, okay? So let's just hold it here in either your regular plank, forearm plank, or the modified. I'm gonna stay here for a few breaths. Don't forget to keep breathing. You're doing great. A few more seconds. From here, keep your arms, the forearms down. We're gonna take a dolphin, which is basically like a downward dog, but your forearms are down. So you might have to walk your feet in a few steps like I did. But that should feel like a little bit of a break. So just stay here for a moment in your breath. Walk the feet back out to that forearm plank. Drop your right knee down. Dial the right leg out. And open up to the left side for a modified forearm side plank. Send the hips forward. Sometimes we have a tendency to be hinged at the hips. So send the hips forward and align yourself so that your elbow is underneath your shoulders. Option to stay right here, keeping the hips elevated. Maybe lift the left toes up so they're parallel with the floor. Maybe bring the left arm overhead. Maybe take 3 side crunches with me. Ready? Inhale, exhale, crunch, extend, crunch, extend. One more time, crunch, extend. Beautiful. Bring that leg back down. Both hands come down. Regular downward dog here, just to breathe. Might have got your heart rate up a little bit there. I'm going to turn myself around before we switch to the other side. Coming down to that forearm plank again. This time left knee comes down, dial the left toes out, right arm reaches up, and take a moment just to get your alignment right. You want to make sure that elbow is underneath your shoulder. Hips are forward, right arm up towards the ceiling. Option to stay right here, keeping those hips elevated. Maybe you lift the right leg. Maybe right arm comes up overhead. Holding it right here, you should feel your core engaged. If you want to take the side crunches, exhale, squeeze, squeeze. One more time. Extend, beautiful. Drop the right toes down, come around. Let's bring the knees to the outer edges, big toes to touch, child's pose. And use these next couple of breaths as a little bit of a restorative moment Get the heart rate back down and come back to the breath. All right. When you're ready, tuck your toes, send the hips up and back, downward dog. All right, second flow. So from here, inhale that right leg up to the sky. Exhale, bring the right knee all the way through into a low lunge. Always an option to use your blocks in a low lunge. So if you want to have those handy, can help you bring the heart a little bit more forward. Can also just bring the ground a little bit closer as well. So totally up to you. From here, inhale the arms up, high lunge. Not much changes in the lower half. You still have that strong base, that strong foundation. From here, just step that back foot in just a bit for more of a warrior one. Okay, so from my high lunge, I have my back heel up off the mat. Warrior one, my foot is down. Okay, gentle bend in the front knee, left toes pointing towards the top left corner of my mat. From here, straighten out that front leg, hinge at the hips, reach forward, and then fold over that right leg. Again, great posture for blocks. Okay, so this is a pyramid pose. Really great hamstring stretch. Try to keep those hips squared towards the top of your mat. We have a tendency here to want to open up to the left side. Really try to send the right hip back and the left hip forward as you fold over that right leg. And breathe. Put a little bend in that right leg. As you rise back up, we're going to open all the way up to our warrior two. So left toe is pointing towards the left side of the room, just as we did earlier. And then from here, dropping that right arm to the right knee again for extended side angle. This time, if you want to, instead of resting your right arm on the right knee, if you want a little bit more of a challenge, maybe just reach towards the floor. Again, block here is fine. Okay, just not too much weight in that right hand. Really putting the weight into your legs and your strong lower half holding you up. From here, cartwheel the hands down. Keep that right foot where it is, but walk it over to the outside of your mat so that it's outside your two hands here for lizard. This is a super deep stretch, okay? Option to drop the back knee down, option to use blocks, okay? So if you're with me right here, my hands are down on the mat, back knee is down, and I'm almost pushing my right tricep into my right knee. They're sort of pushing against one another to really open up the hips. If you want to make it more of an active posture, bring the left knee up. You can also start to lower down. Now, I have super tight hips, so coming down to the mat without blocks is not really accessible to me. So I try to bring my blocks down and rest my elbows right there as I open up my right hip. So do what feels good for you. Be here for just a couple more breaths. Always feels good to have a good hip opener, hip stretch. Wherever you are, walk yourself back up. Bring both hands to the mat, swing that right leg around, send the hips up and back for downward dog, and give yourself a little pedal here. Stay here for a couple breaths. Bring some movement, especially to that right leg after all of the stretching and the work we just did. Keep pedaling out those legs. All right, I'm going to rejoin you here in my downward dog before we switch over to the next side. So on your next inhale, bring the left leg up and back, three-legged dog. Exhale, left foot comes through again for that low lunge. From here, get your balance in your legs. Inhale, rise up. Nice and strong here. Feel that good, solid foundation underneath you. And when you're ready, just hop that back foot up just a little bit from our high lunge to our warrior one, standing tall, shoulders away from the ears. Engage the tummy. Straighten out that front leg, reach for the front of the room, and then fold over the left leg. And if you're using your blocks, have them handy. This is a great couple postures to include our blocks with. Feel that good hamstring stretch on the left side. It's one of my favorite poses. But always remember to keep those hips squared. I have to often remind myself as I want to open up to the right side now. Keep the right hip forward, left hip back. Gentle bend in that knee as you start to rise up. We're going to come right to our warrior two. Might have to step a little further back with that back foot. Big inhale here. And exhale for that side angle. Take the same variation that you did on the other side. So if you're using the block, or if you're still balancing with your forearm on your knee, that's totally fine. Or maybe you're trying without for the first time. Totally up to you. One more big breath here. Cartwheel those hands back down. Coming to your low lunge. Keep those blocks handy if you like them. Bring that foot to the outer edge of the mat. Maybe you drop the knee down. Maybe you use your blocks, whatever variations you used on the other side. But remember, left tricep pushing into that left knee. And you find what works for you. Find your good stretch. If you want to make it a little bit more active, maybe you keep that back knee up off the mat. Or maybe you're just focusing on flexibility and opening up that hip, which is what I need today. And try to keep your foot flat on the mat. Sometimes your foot might want to open up. Give the hip a little break. And just breathe. Breathe into those hips. Nice, slowly and controlled. We come back up. Maybe move your props out of the way. Tuck the back toes, bring the left toes back. And this time, let's just drop the knees. Child's pose. Probably feeling some pretty strong sensations in the hips right now. So they're probably thanking you for this nice restorative posture. So take a few moments to enjoy it. Now, when you're ready, tuck the toes, send the hips up and back. And walk your toes up towards the top of your mat. And nice and slow, rise up. Bring the arms all the way up with you. And exhale. And give yourself a nice little shake. That was a lot of work. Good job. Okay. Let's take a couple balancing poses. Balancing postures are always just fun to challenge yourself a little bit, especially after all of that hip opening, feeling a lot in our legs right now. So we might as well just keep going with it, right? We'll start with everybody's favorite, which is a tree pose, bringing hands to heart center. Maybe just kickstanding your left foot against your right ankle. And sometimes that's enough, right? There's a little bit of balancing practice there. If you want to take it one step further, slide that left foot up to your shin. We're always just going to be mindful not to push on our knee joint. Don't want to do any damage to the knees. So option to stay right here. Okay, or if you want to take the full posture, bringing the left leg, or the left foot, I should say, all the way up to the right inner thigh. Equal pressure between your left foot and your right inner thigh. That's what I always tell my middle school students when I'm doing yoga with them, is they sort of dramatically fall to the floor. And I say, find balance between the foot and the leg. Maybe bring your arms up overhead. Maybe cactus your arms, whatever feels good for you today. Maybe you have that spot on the wall or the floor that you're gazing at. And some days we just have better balance than others. Nice and slow, start to release the tree pose. Bring that left knee to the front. Arms or hands should wrap around your knee just for a second. Maybe some ankle rolls here on the left side. And we're going to bring that left foot behind for a quad stretch. Option to stay, I'll turn so you can see me better, in just a regular quad stretch. And you can always hold on to the wall, right? Or a table or something nearby. The focus here is on the stretch of your quad muscles. And so if we're not too worried about the balance, then just focus on the stretch. Okay. If you want the balancing challenge, maybe bring the right arm up overhead and start to tip forward for dancer, kicking that left foot into your left hand. And again, finding balance on the wall or on the floor. Nice and slow, controlled, come back up and release it down. All right, beautiful. Seems to be doing okay with my balances today, and I fell out of a triangle pose. So it's just funny how different poses can hit us in different ways. All right, moving over to the other side, tree pose here. So right ankle, we can start same variations as last time. If you want to go right to the inner thigh, go for it. If you want to work your way up or see what works for you on this side, sometimes we have better balance on one side than the other. But if you want to take the full variation, again, remember that pressure, pushing with your foot just as much as your leg. And maybe you change up your arm variation this time. Standing nice and tall. Slowly release, bring the right knee forward, hands come to the right knee, roll out the ankle just a bit. Both directions. And then slowly bring that foot back, taking it to that quad stretch. Option to stay right here in your quad stretch, balance with the wall if necessary, pushing your foot into your hand, and you'll really feel that quad muscle turn on. And if you want to take the dancer's challenge, left arm comes up, slowly start to reach forward, kicking that right foot into your right hand. And if you come out of it for a second like I did, that's okay. Shake it off, come right back. And find that spot to focus your gaze on. And squeeze all those muscles, stabilizing you. And nice and controlled, we release back down. Beautiful. All right, come down to a seat. We're going to start in a bound angle as we start to cool down a little bit. Start to stretch and bring the heart rate down. So bring the soles of your feet together. Sit up nice and tall, dropping the shoulders away from the ears. Okay. Bound angle can be intense on the hips for some people. So you can always prop a block underneath if you just need a little added support. But what I find is as we continue to breathe through this, your hips may open up a little bit more and you may find that you can remove them. If this is enough of a stretch, wonderful. Stay right here. You can use your elbows to push into your knees a little bit. I like to wrap my fingers around my toes and roll forward, still pushing with my elbows into my knees and just opening up those hips. Slowly rise back up. Take it to a seated staff pose. So sending your legs out straight in front of you, flex your toes, maybe give them a little movement actually, point flex, point flex. Sitting up nice and tall, feel that long spine behind you. Inhale the arms up overhead, hinging at your hips, come forward, and then dropping down over your legs. Hands can come to your shins, to your ankles, to the mat, maybe to your feet. If you have a strap, you can wrap your strap around your feet as well. I don't have mine handy, but otherwise that's a great prop to use. And I like to kind of open up the top of my back in this stretch as well. Just feels good. Feels good on the low spine, feels good on the hamstrings. And if you can't keep your legs totally straight, that's okay. You'll still feel that very deep stretch. Nice and slowly we release, come back up, and we're going to spend the rest of our time down on our backs. Keep your legs bent to start. Bring your feet as close to your butt as you can. Hands at your sides. And we'll start with a bridge pose. So take a deep breath in with me. And on the exhale, one by one, tuck the pelvis and start to lift the vertebrae up off the mat. Maybe shimmy your shoulders underneath you a little bit more. Pushing down into the mat with your heels to help lift the hips. And hold it here for 3, for 2, and for 1. Slowly, one vertebrae at a time, we lower down. Bring the knees into your chest, little side to side rock. Bring the feet back down. Hands come to the sides. One more time, inhale. Exhale, lift. Shimmy those shoulders. If you want to interlace your fingers underneath your low spine this time, but just remember the focus here is on the connection between your heels and the mat. It's where all the energy comes from. And slowly we lower down. Let your knees splay open. Bring your soles of your feet together again for reclined bound angle. This is one of my favorite restorative postures. Again, same tips as in the seated bound angle. If this is too much, you can always put the props underneath your knees. Or just let your legs splay open. One hand to heart, one hand to belly. And breathe. Do a lot of work on these hips. Let's let them relax. Slowly bring the knees together. Bring your right knee in, let your left leg extend nice and long. We'll take this to a spinal twist. So inhale, squeeze the knee up towards your armpit. Exhale, bring the right knee over to the left side. My back just cracked about 10 times. I like to use my left hand to apply some pressure to my right knee just to hold it down. Not very forceful, just gentle. Maybe bring your gaze to the right side. Just wringing out your spine. One of my favorite ways to close out a yoga practice is with a supine spinal twist. Bringing both legs back to center. Bring both knees into your chest. Give yourself a little rock side to side. This time, extend the right leg out long. Left leg comes up towards your armpit. Inhale and exhale. Cross the left knee over to the right side. Extending the left arm out to the side. And maybe your gaze follows to the left side for that spinal twist. Let it feel good. And then return to center, knees to your chest. Send your feet up towards the ceiling. Grab the outsides of your feet or the backs of your thighs for happy baby. Try to feel the whole length of your spine connected to the mat. We have a tendency to want to lift up here. Try to keep it down. It's the best way to get this good stretch in. And any movements that you want to take here, maybe extending the legs out to the sides, rocking side to side, whatever else you need. And bring the knees into your chest one final time. And extend the legs out to the corners of your mat, arms to your sides. For our Shavasana, if you want to throw a blanket over your hips for a little grounding, a little warmth, palms up towards the ceiling. And we'll just stay here for a few quiet moments before we close out our practice. And if you have more time to stay in your Shavasana, I encourage you to do so. But if you're ready to come out of it, maybe wiggle the toes, wiggle your fingers, bring some movement side to side with your head. When you're ready, roll over onto one side in a fetal position. Be resting your head on your arm. And we're in no hurry here, but when you're ready, rise back up to our easy seat, Sukhasana. And we'll close out with a few collective breaths. So once you find that comfortable seated position, again, shoulders away from the ears, spine nice and long, hopefully feeling a little warm, a little looser than you were when we started. Take a nice big breath, inhale, bring the arms up overhead. Exhale, hands to heart center. Again, inhale, lift. And exhale. One more time, big breath of gratitude. And let it go. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you got what you needed from this practice. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe to my channel. I've got new videos coming out for you every week, anywhere from 5 to 45 minutes. So hopefully everything that you need. All right, drop a comment. Let me know how you liked it. And I'll see you guys next time. Namaste.